passion behind your pedal.
Who's advertising then?
Let's see. You reckon?
Who's that? Oh, it's Carlos. Carlo. Say hello, Dan.
Hello. It's all happening. We're back.
Yeah, I was just checking the audio levels as usual.
Indeed, indeed. Welcome everyone to that Pedal Show viewers' comments and questions. Dan here.
Mick here. Hello. Welcome, everyone.
Yes, missed you last week.
Oh yeah,
Obviously I saw you, but I mean them.
I was going to say you need to look at the person you're addressing.
Sorry,
because otherwise I might think you were talking to me. Yeah,
I missed you on the days I didn't see you last week.
Yeah. Welcome everyone, viewers, comments and questions. That Pedal Show. Welcome to our podcast listeners. We do this as a podcast for our patrons on Patreon. If you're new, no real way to explain it other than we talk about stuff guitar related and not for a couple of hours. If you're not new, you know exactly what to expect. Welcome back.
Indeed.
Should we do a roll call down?
Yes,
See
please.
Who's on today? Hi all from Canada, says Brian McKenzie.
Oh, lovely.
Dobster, hi Legends, thanks for a wonderful Friday show. Yeah, it was good on Friday.
Oh man,
Our jolly friend Ainsley Lister was here.
how good is he?
Apologies for the audio interruption. Oof.
The audio interruption.
Yeah, I just repositioned my mic ever so slightly,
sorry.
you see, Dan.
Sorry, I see.
There may have been some handling noise.
I see. I see.
40 Watt Podcast, good morning from Mississippi.
Oh, very good.
Played my first blues festival in years over the weekend and it was glorious.
Wow.
Congrats.
Gigs. I
G'day,
remember
guys.
gigs.
Greetings from Wisconsin, USA, says Steve Mass. Steve, great to hear from you. Nice to hear from you, man. Hope you're doing okay.
Lovely.
Zoot
Allures, greetings from Long Island, New York.
there it is.
Yes, and Jeff Harvey, greetings from San Diego.
Forres, northeast Scotland, says
Lovely.
Whizbang 80.
Lovely.
Up there, caber tossing and eating haggis, hopefully.
Todd Roy, hello from a sunny and beautiful Nova Scotia. Have you spent much time in Scotland?
Yes. Well, comparatively no.
An appropriate amount of time.
I've been there a lot.
Yeah, I love it. It's
it's
so lovely.
Tremendously wonderful. How far north have you been?
Oh, I don't know. We went to Loch Ness. I don't know if that's north.
Scotland for beginners, that is. What I like is you get over the border and you think, blimey, it's taken us 4 hours to get here. And it's like, yeah, and it's going to take another 6 to get there.
The drive to Loch Ness from Edinburgh was one of the most beautiful drives I have ever been on in my life.
Nice.
Spent the whole time just looking around these mountains, just going, wow.
Would be great, wouldn't it?
It's just stunning. So beautiful.
Would be lovely.
Paul Seacombe, good evening from Perth, Western Australia. I love Perth. The only place in Australia where you can see the sunset over the water.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or one of the only ones. But yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's very beautiful.
I was just having a bit of a spatial awareness moment there. Because the water goes down the plug hole the other way and you have to stand on your head the whole time. I was wondering if the sun did indeed rise in the east and set in the west.
Well, if you told me it did, I'd believe you.
Yeah, I just I can just hear the collective forehead slapping of all the physicists and well, just generally non-dumb people out there.
Massive greetings to our dear BV as well. Hello, mate. Thank you very much for doing what you do. You are a superstar.
Thank you so much, BB.
Yeah.
Timo Mommers, aloha from the south of the Netherlands. Keep up the great show.
Lovely.
Hello to the Netherlands.
Michael Stein, hello from Saarbrücken, Germany.
Wow,
The Schwang began. I've been to Saarbrücken a few times.
Yeah.
We had a dealer out there, and yeah, I love Germany. It's such a great place.
Steve from Crucial Audio's on.
Oh, hey, Steve.
Hey, Steve.
Lovely.
JD.
JD, hello from soggy Vancouver. And the Phil Button, howdy, Dan and Mick from Oregon. One day we shall get to Oregon because there's some really, really cool things in Oregon.
Soggy van cover was what was going through my head.
Soggy van cover.
Yeah. Like if you'd left it out in the rain. Dave Clark, greetings from Belfast, Maine. Howdy from Petaluma, says John Newquist. Hello, John. Home of Mesa Boogie, of course, Petaluma. In fact, I watched a nice film last night about winemaking in up there in Northern California.
Right.
With the now sadly no longer with us Alan Rickman, based on a true story where he takes some Californian wine to France and they all laugh at him because obviously Californian wine in France was a...
Is that the one where he did it and it was clear for a while?
Yeah.
It's a great film. I love that.
Nice feel-good movie.
Yeah, lovely.
And
Rick Mason says, hello chaps from Royal Wootton Bassett, where I was just before I came here.
Indeed.
And I am there most days indeed.
Edward Markham from sunny Shrewsbury, or indeed Shrewsbury, depending on which side of the border you come from.
Steve Miles, g'day guys and everyone from Wisconsin, USA. Did we go to Wisconsin? Is that where we went?
Wisconsin. Don't think I've been to Wisconsin.
Where did we go? Where was
Rift City.
Rift City.
That was up north somewhere, wasn't it? Yeah. No, almost Canada.
Okay. Almost Canada.
What was
That
that?
was called.
Sorry, I'll remember in a minute. I will remember in a minute. Sam Foyer says, can you explain to a newbie why the amps are mic'd in the studio? I get why in a live setting the mics go to a mixer for front of house and monitors, but in the studio, aren't you just hearing the amps anyway? Yeah, we are, Sam, but if they weren't mic'd, you wouldn't be able to hear them. How do I explain this briefly? Above my head, about here, are the microphones that capture our voices. There's one pointing at me and one pointing at Dan, and they're gained up about that much. If we turned on a guitar amp and played, they would be distorted beyond the point of listenable anything, because the guitar amps are about 20 times louder than our voices.
Yeah.
So there's separate microphones on the guitar amps, and they're gained up about that much because they're so loud. And you can if you watch a show, you'll see that when we talk, the dB meter, which is not on at the moment, which is on in a normal show, will be about 40 to 50 dB, something like that. When we play the guitar, it could be anything up to 110. And if you do your logarithmic volume calculation, you'll know that 107 decibels is many times louder than 55 or 60. So that's why there's two separate sets of mics, one that's optimized for guitars and one for voices. We could, of course, turn the guitar amps down, but this is that pedal show.
Exactly.
Yeah. And actually, true story, you'd have to turn the guitar amps down beyond the sound of the plectrum on the strings in order for these mics
To work.
Yeah, here you go.
Nice.
What I know from the meters that I can see, even me just hitting the strings with a plectrum with a non-plugged-in guitar, we were into the red.
Look at that.
That is El Medio Stomp by Kirk Fletcher, for those of you who are interested. Paddy, bass player, hello Pad if you're on, has booked me in for a slot at the Lyme Regis Blues and Jazz thing on the 3rd of June on the front there in Lyme Regis, playing with Pad and a drummer, and so we had to come up with a set of tunes, so we're going to do that by Kirk Fletcher, among others.
Amazing.
So yeah, 3rd of June, if you're in Lyme Regis in Dorset, get down there.
Very good.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, that was a massive tangent, Dan, and we haven't even started.
I'll be in a blues prog tent where it'll be me and probably my wife and kids and some maths fans
Arguing over time signatures.
Yes. Yeah, it'd be great. Been downhearted, baby.
Yeah.
Jesse the says, why not mic the pedals?
Yeah.
He's being very funny.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
I was trying to come up with a... Yeah. Hello, James Blessed. Right, let's get into the questions of discovery, Daniel.
Indeed.
La 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 do 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 do. It's such a great tune, that.
He's good, old Kirky. Yes, as BV Ninja says, thanks everyone for the super chats today. Indeed. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
We do. We've already got loads, so let's get on with it. Ran's there. Hello, Ran. Nice to hear from you as always. Ledge Edges. Welcome back. Fabulous show with Ainsley on Friday. Thank you very much, Ran. And he has a question. He says, it's time for my first telly.
Yeah, it is. Past you, I think you find.
What are your thoughts on the Brad Paisley Esquire, i.e. with the hidden neck pickup? I'm considering it over a standard Vintera. Do you think it's worth the extra $500 for a nitro finish?
Oh, interesting. So the hidden neck pickup, I'm assuming they've got something beefy under the pickguard. Is that right?
They've done it on a few guitars, actually. They've done it on a few over the years, put something under the pickguard. Welcome to our podcast listeners on Patreon.
Indeed.
As I've just remembered to hit record.
Well done, mate.
Big thanks to Train Franks, who normally rescues the audio. Train, you're off the hook this week. We're okay. So the question is, what do we think of the... They must be a new model, because I think the normal Brad Paisley telly has got pickups a la regular Telecaster, but this is obviously a different one.
Paisley accoutrements.
Yes, les accoutrements du Paisley. Yeah. Do we think it's worth the extra bucks for the nitro? Always is for me. Absolutely always is for me.
What's really interesting about Polly is that after playing the early 70s strats, indeed Mick's newly acquired 70s strat, which is really serious Polly, but that Polly that they used back then is different than the Polly that goes on today.
It is. I read a great article on it over the weekend. I wish I could remember the website name now, but and there was, because it went in stages. There were different types of base coat. There were different types of top coat, etc., etc., etc. Well, interestingly enough, so they first moved to the Polys during 1968, right?
Right.
This body is nitro, it's been refinished, but the neck, this is a 1970, the neck has the original poly finish. Now I'm saying poly because we usually say polyester, but I think it was an early polyurethane.
Oh,
but it's got another name code, which I can't quite remember.
Right.
But it was playing havoc with the decals, so the face is nitro.
No!
Which is why it looks so cool.
That is so cool.
Right? But it feels fantastic.
It does. It's wonderful. Yeah. And now I'm pregnant.
with that groove.
With that groove.
Careful, you nearly blooming have a Angela Rayner moment there.
I heard her in an interview today. I was so impressed.
Yeah,
she's really super impressive person.
Yeah, she's always been pretty straight talking.
Yeah.
Sorry, a bit of British politics there. Personally, I'd always go for a nitro because I just think it looks nice in a few years' time.
Yeah.
Now, if your definition of nice is it looks the same the day you bought it, get a poly finish guitar because they're very hard to scratch and ding and dent. And the colour fastness of it is really good, and they remain new and bright looking. For forever. That's not true for a long, long time. Whereas, depending on the nitro finish, and as Dan alluded, they're certainly not all. Nitro isn't nitro.
Yeah.
If you look at either of my Collings Electrics guitars, for example, or my acoustic for that matter, Collings use nitro cellulose on the bodies, and it is so hard and so brittle.
Yeah.
You've basically just got to look at it to chip it.
Mm.
Whereas I've seen numerous Gibson nitro finishes where you can actually stick your
My
fingernail
telly,
in it. Yeah.
my telly I bought it sight unseen. It was sent to me from America. It turned up, I plugged it in, sounded amazing, but the finish hadn't cured properly.
Yeah.
And I could scrape it off with my nail. No, the body was fine, but on the neck it was like, what is this? And so it's a really interesting. If it's good nitro, I would say, and I'm sure the Paisley ones will be.
Well, if you looked at the Jason Isbell telly that I had for a minute there,
Oh, that was spectacular.
that was a great looking guitar, and
really
all
wonderful.
the better for it for having that nitro slightly aged finished, in my opinion. But if you're not that bothered about the vintage look, then it's no biggie.
Yeah.
So good luck.
Yeah,
That
good
would be
luck,
a very
mate.
cool guitar, I think.
Yeah.
Lawrence Koch, he says, regarding the wet dry episode, the reverb went to both amps. What are your thoughts on that versus reverb only to the wet amp? Thanks for the recommendations on the Ventress.
We had a few people commenting about this, and there's a bit of confusion, but the idea was we had this massive stereo image, and because the reverb from the CXM 1978 is so epic that to have that in both speakers and just the modulations and things going to one side, we're going to do the ultimate wet, dry, wet video guide and stuff. We're going to make it as comprehensive as possible. But that idea that, well, you can only have dry in one and only wet, it's nonsense. You can mix and match and work out which sounds great. But having the stereo reverb just for that space, flipping heck, man. It's being in the room with that sound has thrown me into a spin.
Somebody's asked a question about that, actually, so we want to know what that spin is in a minute.
Right.
I think there's a number of issues here. Right, start at the top. One is the sort of continued annoyance of us using the term wet dry when it's not actually true wet dry. Because, as Dan alluded, true wet dry is no dry in the wet and no wet in the dry. And it's the way it used to be done, certainly in a studio environment, where you'd mix in parallel effects wet only, right? So that's the first thing. And maybe we need to modify our terminology a little bit just to make that a bit more clear, so that everyone could just put down their handbags and stop getting diverted by that.
Moist wet.
Because the more important thing is what he just said, just do it any way you want, just understanding which is going where. Now, normally, the two amps I would both have reverb in them, or at least one of them would. And regardless of what's going on the pedal board, those amps would be doing some kind of reverb. So it's really not dry wet at that point. It's kind of dry wet on the board plus reverb in the amps. However, using the Mesa 5050 power amp, that doesn't have any reverb in it. And I want reverb in both sides.
Yep.
Hence having the two sides of the CXM 78. However, I've also used rigs where I use the Marshall completely dry and the Two Rock absolutely sopping wet. And that is a cool sound too. It's really just about trying it, having a listen and seeing which you prefer. Because I'm such a fan of reverb, I tend to like a lot of reverb. Now, once you get into great big stereo halls and stuff, you've got to be really careful with that.
Yep.
But, a sort of respectable amount of spring reverb.
Or a small room reverb, the best rock sound.
Could be in both.
Man.
Funnily enough, I did a pub gig on Easter Sunday down at my friend's pub in Weymouth. Had a great night, and I took the 5050 and the Boogie 212, and I wasn't expecting it to work as well as it did.
Right.
But it really, really, really worked well, and I used some massive reverbs.
Yeah.
Because we did a few pop tunes that had a bit of production.
But because of the clarity of it. Right?
Yeah.
It just sits beautifully.
I thought it would get completely lost, but it didn't. And then on the end of the song, putting in one of those crazy, when the sliders are like that, and it goes whoosh, and everyone goes, "What the hell?" But
that's great.
So yeah, that's it. Few different issues there. Maybe we should start calling it dual mono or wet dry, or wet dry, wet
Wetty,
dry.
wetty, dry, dry.
Yeah, or maybe we should just forget about wet dry and call it dual mono, two different things to do different amps. The other big point of confusion was people can't understand why it's not stereo. And the reason it's not stereo
It's the room mics.
is because it's dual mono. because it's never supposed to be stereo. Like if you're using stereo effects and you want stereo, you pan them hard left and right.
Yeah.
And then when you're
of
at the
course.
gig, all you hear is the left.
Yep.
Because you're stood by the left speaker.
Yep.
Or all you hear is the right because you're stood by the right speaker. The way Dan and I do this dual mono, wet dry, whatever you want to call it, is to mitigate all of that. So it just sounds massive and awesome wherever you are.
Yep.
Got nothing to do with stereo.
Yep.
Except that the CXM is stereo. We'll just gloss over that.
Well said.
Duncan, Plexico, hello mate. He says, greetings D&M. Would you consider doing a wet dry comparison with the new Victory V4 amps? I received a copper V4 and it works quite well with a regular amp. Absolutely.
Yeah. Great.
For those of you who don't know, Victory's V4 series, some tubes driving the preamp and then a solid state analog power section. So you don't get the issue with the digital power, a 100% AD conversion. So the phase is all good. You can use it with any kind of, regular.
It's still analog all the way through, right?
Yeah, you can use it with a transistor amp or a valve amp
Yeah.
or whatever. I think actually think it's a really great shout because they're flipping loud. They're totally tiny. And if you can't be bothered to carry around another amp and you just want to use that for your second speaker in the cab or carry another small cab, I think it's a great way to do it.
Jack Duxbury says, you were in Weymouth?
Hey, Jack. Yeah, I was. Actually, I should mention I did a gig with a couple of guys who do a touring show called The Story of Guitar Heroes.
Right.
Phil and Chris, and they do the theatres throughout the UK. Actually, they go on the continent as well. I think they were in Holland this week. Just two really, really lovely guys, great players, great singers. And it was a really lovely thing. So I don't know, you guys probably won't watch this, but it's called The Story of Guitar Heroes, and it's a touring theatre show, and you can go see it, and they do all the things that you would imagine in the story of Guitar Heroes.
Lovely. Yes. Anyway, hi Jack. Thanks for chiming in. Jack's going to be playing keys for us in the TPS band / Andy Timmons gigs that are coming up soon.
Diddly 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 where do ba-da-do. That's all I've got to say to you, Jack. For anyone who doesn't know, it's the keyboard solo in Rosanna by Toto.
Awesome.
But Duncan, yeah, we will absolutely do that. I think that's a great idea. Eagle Ray Rob, hello Rob. He says, my wife just sent me a text that a package from Dan and Mick was delivered. I got some teas and a couple of CDs. The last two shows have got me rethinking stuff, considering a Victory V140 Super Duchess. Thanks, Legends. Nice.
What a great amp.
Yeah. Steve Mass. Hello, Steve.
Hello,
nice
Steve.
to have you on. He says, just discovered Chris Tone Kingfish Ingram. Young Blues Monster. Check out the live performance at Double Decker Festival on YouTube.
Yep.
Blinkin' Eck, he says.
Yeah, he's great.
I think I might have seen some of his stuff.
Yeah.
Bit more V's, Dan. Bit more V's. D&M. Oh, nice. Kevin Rebong. Kevin. I wanted to bring awareness to Kittycaster effects by Howard G. Howard was the designer behind many Catlin-bred staples like the Belly Book Deluxe Echo,
wow.
Topanga, DLS, and just released 2 pedals last week. That is really good news.
Yeah.
Nice to see Howard crop up.
Wonderful.
In a new brand, or at least seems new, Kittycaster effects. Kittycaster effects. Please check out what Howard's doing.
Excellent.
Nice.
Actually,
Thanks.
I don't know if I mentioned this before, but in that vein, there was a message that went up on last week regarding
Diamond
stuff.
Yep.
And it said that we will be back.
Yep.
So I've reached out to people and haven't heard anything, but, it looks like they may be back, so we shall see.
That's very groovy.
Very groovy.
We big fans of Diamond effects.
Yeah.
They make lovely stuff. Or made lovely stuff, and hopefully will once again make lovely stuff. Andreas Johnson, 1990. Love the show, he says. My band released an album on Saturday and we celebrated it with a gig. Finally got to dry wet in a live setting. The band is called Baron's Court, if anyone wants to listen to it.
Lovely.
So that's from Andreas Johnson, 1990. His band is called Baron's Court, like the, I want to say famous, but I don't think it really is famous, tube stop.
Oh, okay. Not catching barons, as in the barons have been caught and now they're going to stand trial for their crimes against humanity.
No.
But Baron's Court, as in
A court full of barons.
a court full of barons.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So that's the plural of barons. Yeah. A court of barons. Yeah. I like it.
I like Baron's Court is quite a good name.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah. Yeah. Good on you. Jim B. Hello, Tippy Toes. Jim B says, I have a Les Paul Tribute, 2-piece maple top, 1-piece mahogany back, 1-piece mahogany neck, rosewood board. No gloss or binding. Is this a real Leicester? I don't see why not.
They made it wasn't in the 70s. They made the deluxe with the mini humbuckers, and that was a 2-piece body.
Yeah, no, I think you're talking about the sandwich bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this isn't that. This is just it's a cost-effective Les Paul.
Oh, okay.
That looks like that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, of course it's a real Leicester. Oh, you can't see that. Look up Les Paul Tribute. It's a current model as well, which I didn't really realise. I don't know. What Gibson does is confusing on the best of days. Which is, I don't mean that as a disparaging comment. I mean, things just change so quickly.
Indeed.
I'm going to turn the super chats off, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just going to turn the super chats off because we've got lots to get through. So if you've super chatted to this point, we will answer you. If you have not, please don't. Thanks to everyone who has so far. Come on. Yeah. It's funny, I often talk about when I used to work on guitar magazines. That was flipping ages ago now.
Yeah.
So it's largely out of date, and I don't really know what they're doing anymore. I mean, obviously I watch the internet like everyone else does, but I was really in it back then, and I knew everything that was happening, but now I don't.
Blissfully unaware.
It's a bit like the getting old conversation we had on last week.
That's great. I trained today. I had a 1-to-1 with my coach Lucas, and who's showing me how to tape my fingers up properly. You know, because now the fingers are getting older and they're so much more fragile. It's like excellent. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Age.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least you don't have to deal with young people anymore, though. That's one of the benefits I'm finding.
Yeah.
We were talking about this. Actually, this is worth a chat if it comes up in the chat this week. Dan and I tried to do a video on the Boss RE202 last week.
We did.
The new Space Echo and the RE2.
Swing and a miss.
And we got so bogged down in the UI, and what we realised come the end of it was that we didn't actually have a question. So I said, no, we're not putting that out. We'll bin that. And we'll do it again.
Yep.
So in the course of this video, if you have any thoughts on what we should do with the RE202 and the RE2, we'd be interested to know. Because the two questions that I had, does it sound like an RE201? Emphatically no. Andy Martin's proved that. We proved it sat in here, which is not a bad thing, by the way, because there's lots of things the RE201 does that are highly undesirable.
Yep.
So, but does it sound like the 201? No. Can you do really amazingly creative things with it? Yes. Watch Pete Thorne's demo. So between Andy Martin's demo on Reverb and Pete Thorne's demo, I'm just not sure what else there is to say about it, because they did such a stellar job. So if you have thoughts or you'd like to see us do something with the 202 and the RE2, let us know. Yeah. Because I'm out of questions about it.
Apparently, Fan has an answer.
Yeah, Bev has an answer. He's saying he doesn't have any of the missing super chat questions so far. BV, thank you very much for keeping us in the game.
Alex says, how does the RE202 smell compared to the 201?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
emphatically not as good.
No. Very good. Very good.
Jacob Lerheim wants to know, Mick, I've been wondering for some time, have you ever considered a Seriatone Dumble clone? And also, what about the 2-rock steel string singer? Seems like that would be the Dumble for you. Cheers. Seriatone, kind of know. I think they do nice stuff, but I just never been interested in any brand that just does clones and rip-offs. I find it a sort of an affront to originality. It's not really my thing. But I know lots of people like them and say they sound great. Silver String Singer, I love it. It sounds great. It's just massive clean channel. It doesn't do the overdrive thing that something like the Overdrive Special does. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, I'll get a 2-rock TS1 one day,
Right.
which is not a straight clone of a. And even if it was, it would sort of be okay because you can't get them anymore.
What's the Bloomfield drive?
Yeah, sort of like a TS1 with reverb, I think,
Right.
but kind of different. And I don't really understand why.
Okay.
I don't really understand why. Bebbers says, podcast. Don't forget to record the podcast. Thanks, Bebbers. Yes, okay. Dead air done.
No, I'm just was wondering. So, Airfire. Hey Ed, hope you're doing awesome, mate. He said a question for the RE2, RE202. When does delay become reverb? Because it's what's really interesting about the Space Echo is, yes, it does have built-in spring reverb, but a lot of people use it for reverb effect because you've got 3 heads on there, and the spacing, is such that you can almost get reflection type effects going. It's really, really interesting. So yeah, that's a really nice question.
Thank you, Ed.
Yeah, well done, buddy.
I'm going to write that down. I had
Yep.
to retreat to get writing apparatus.
Very good. And Eagle Ray, Rob says yes. The Bloomfield drive is 2-channel, or channel 2. I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's 2 channels. Yeah,
2 channels.
It's got a clean
okay.
channel and a overdrive channel.
Oh,
like
I see.
Like an overdrive special.
But I'm assuming it stacks the gain stages.
It's very similar in the way it does that. It has reverb, which the overdrive special never had. So I don't know why it's different. I don't think it is just a TS1 with reverb. I think it's a bit more complex than that.
Right.
Yes.
Cool.
George Radcliffe. Hello, George.
Hello, George.
Mick, after the One Cab Wet Dry show, do you have any new thoughts about speakers for that beautiful Zilla 412? Looks like the project is going well so far. The 50-50 and the Maiden seem happy together. Yeah, the 412 will happen. The speakers I was going to put in it was a new one by Jensen. They were doing one that was voiced after EVs in some kind of way, but with very much with people like Robin Ford and Larry Carlton in mind. So somewhere in that discussion we bring in the Celestion G1265, and I don't really know the tech of it, but anyway, so I ordered 4. 2 of them have arrived damaged, unfortunately, and I kind of lost heart with it. But having heard the EVs, it's hard to unimagine that sound now.
Yeah.
And if they do end up in there, it's going to be untransportable, so
Yeah.
it will only be used here. I
And
think
it takes 2 of us to move that,
Yeah.
the boogie cab around.
Well, I took it to a gig on Sunday night and had no trouble with
Oh,
it.
you got wheels on it?
I haven't. It's actually on a little trolley at the moment.
Oh, okay.
I took a little trolley and I had no
was
problem
all right?
getting it around. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it was good. I'll tell you what I loved about it as well. I was in the corner of the pub and it was just there.
Yeah, right.
No large amounts of space required.
I like that.
So, George, it will happen, yeah. Whether it ever leaves the studio, I don't know. But, yeah, the Maiden and the 50-50 really do really, really do work together. And the Paso Doble, a lot of people didn't really understand. They think the Paso Doble is an overdrive pedal. It's not. It's another preamp that is designed to come after the Maiden. So anyway. Michael Gilberto. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Michael.
Here we are, Dan. I'm very curious about Dan's rethinking everything comment that he's made several times after introducing the new format wet dry rig a few shows back. Inquiring minds want to know.
We had Simon Kingsley on, Simon Jarrett from Kingsley Pedals on a while ago, showing us his new preamp designs and stuff, and they sounded great. And I remembered plugging in the Page DS with the other stage. What was the other stage? The single version before he did the Paso Doble for us. It was the Maiden and the Page DS. And I remember just going, "Oh, flipping heck, that's such a magic sound." And they're proper preamps and they don't work into my amps. And I was always wondering what it was going to sound like. We've fired the massive Bull Get before and it's killer. But then when Mick put his rig together, it just sounds so massive, but it's so clear and articulate. And what's really interesting is, because they're EVs and the wide open power stage, the gain structure doesn't change with volume. It has much less change with volume.
Yeah.
With my amps, because I've got the Matchless and the J20, and they've got to be sat in a sweet spot to get the most out of them, right? And, they sound glorious and I love them. But I was so impressed with the Boogie. First of all, I've always loved the sound of those preamps. But when you hear it in the room and you go from this glorious overdrive sound with the most beautiful articulate attack and transients, it's so lovely, and then you hear the clean sound, it's like it's really special. And especially doing atmospheric and ethereal sounds and proggy stuff, having that level of headroom and that level of detail and articulation in the sound is a real advantage. So I'm going to give it a try. Don't get me wrong, my guitar sound at the moment is the best I've ever had. It's magic. Then I hear that and it's like, oh no. So I'm going to have a play and see how I go.
Yeah, it's. I think it's a horses for courses thing. So if we're sat in here and we've got a small amp cranked, there's something that does, or even Dan's 8030 crank, there's something that does that could never possibly be reproduced by all that clarity and headroom.
Sure.
It just doesn't happen in that scenario. So you got to know what you're after. And some people, if you like a Tweed cranked, you're never going to get that out of EVs and a power amp. It's just never going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's about what do you want, really, and having the option to be in a different mind space. But it just reminded me, personally, having been on a journey of kind of discovering all this stuff and discovering it in an environment where we can really hear it, like record it, and you don't just borrow it for a weekend, you live with it and you really get to know it.
Yeah.
And going back to that reminded me that that's where I live.
Yeah.
As much as I love a Crank Super Reverb, as much as I love a Princeton flat out, as much as I really love plugging a Les Paul into a Crank Tweed Deluxe, where I live is there.
Yeah.
That's how I get the most out of me and a guitar, is when it has that level of clarity and detail.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't use it for recording. Hard work, sounds a bit sterile, but in a live performance environment, if you are allowed to play live, loud, it's massive and detailed, and all of that clarity and detail starts to make sense. So I think in your case, you love a smashing fuzz sound into a hammered amp, but it's just never going to happen out of that.
Yeah, but
in a million years.
Yeah, but I also love a memory man tripping out into massive stereo reverbs and stuff. And I just, Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna have a play.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see. So perhaps the answer to the question on, why is Dan questioning everything? It's something to do with that. It's about where does one sit? You've got all these options. Where is the happy place?
Yeah.
And a bit like the grass being greener,
Yeah, of course.
you sort of, you sit here for a while and you're enjoying your Les Paul, and then you're like, whoa, maybe it's strat o'clock again.
Yeah. I took the Les Paul home on the weekend, was playing it all weekend and going, oh, this is a great guitar. And then I got up at 6 o'clock this morning, put the telly out and just went,
Yeah.
yeah.
Home again.
Yeah.
Jesse Late or Jesse Leet. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing your surname right, Jesse. I'm going to say Late. He wants to know how the 202 compares to the RE20.
I have to say, vastly superior.
Yeah, we did cover a bit of that in the video that we are not going to put out, but we will revisit that because it is certainly the reverb side of it is vastly superior.
Yep.
And I think in terms of the functionality of the delay in the 202, it's way beyond.
Yeah, and we really like the RE20.
Yeah.
It's great, but they've done a cracking job with the 202.
They do. It's really very, very good. Okay. What 3 pedals, says Sam Foyer, or Thur, apologies again if we haven't pronounced your name right, Sam Foyer, it looks like to me. What 3 pedals would you use in a Boss MS3? As just so you know, Dan, it's got 3 loops that you can put into.
Oh, yes. Yeah, okay. But it has the delays and stuff in there.
It's got everything built into it, but it's also got patches for 3 external pedals.
Okay, I would. So I have a treble booster, an overdrive, and a booster. So, I'd have a D&M drive, the main one in the middle for me, and that's my main sort of medium gain sound. I have a treble booster that goes into it to give it some, and then I would have a Kingsley Page on the outside of it, or the Heavy Water. One of those 2 on the other side to give it some love.
Nice. I think I would choose some stuff that I'm guessing, and I don't know, I'm assuming the MS3's got analog overdrives and digital effects. Assuming. It might have a mixture of analog and digital overdrives.
What's that?
The MS3.
It doesn't.
No?
Just has the delays and reverbs in there.
Does it not have an overdrive section?
I don't believe so. I'm probably wrong. If I don't believe it does, then you can pretty much be assured that it does.
Let's have a look. 6 internal pedals at once. I'm already confused. Yeah, literally no idea.
Yeah.
Why doesn't it list what it has?
Yeah, so that would be my 3, just different gain stages.
Yeah, what I was going to say was I would use those loops to put analog stuff in that it can't do because it's digital. So a nice modulation, a fuzz maybe, just stuff that isn't optimized for it. Because if it is indeed full of nice, or is it just a switcher?
No, I know it's got built-in delays and reverbs and stuff. So you can program that up, but then it gives you loops to put your overdrives in.
Delays, reverbs, modulation, pitch, overdrive, distortion, and more. It's got everything in it.
Of course it does.
Of course it does. It's Boss. Yeah. So I'd be picking stuff that was analog in nature that you can't really, that isn't as lovely in that environment. And for that, we would be talking about fuzz. We'd be talking about a particular modulation of maybe a nice chorus or a phaser.
Old Wood Smells Good says the MS3 is all digital signal path, including the loops. So you couldn't have a germanium fuzz in there because it wouldn't like the buffers.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, loads of people that come back and says it's all digital, so that's very interesting. All right, thank you, people.
Yep. Good luck with that, Sam. Mike 2203. Hello, Mike.
Hello, Mike.
He says, what are your suggestions for a pickup and tuner upgrade on my budget Danish Pete Purple Telly? Is it worth doing? The guitar plays really well and has a great neck.
We played one of those, and they are fantastic.
We didn't just play one, Dan. We've got one.
That's what I meant. We got one.
Yeah.
We played it.
Yeah.
It's really good. So a pickup upgrade and a tuner upgrade. I would say for that guitar, the Lollas are really hard to go past. They sound flippin' fantastic in any telly. I would do that before I did the tuner upgrade when you talk about these things. But the tuner upgrade is significant on any guitar. Is that what you're talking about? Tuners?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you mean Lolla or do you mean Monty's?
I mean Lollas.
Do you?
Jason
'Cause,
Lollas. I mean the Monty ones are
Pete
awesome
did a
as
set
well.
with Monty, which is...
Oh, yes, of course.
With Matt from Monty's, which are really, really good.
Yeah. No,
Yeah. And worth it, by
Yeah.
the way, just to answer your question.
So the Monty's are probably more expensive.
Less expensive.
Are they?
Well, in the UK they're going to be because of
Okay.
import and all
Right.
that.
If
I
you're
just
in the
bought-
UK...
God, bloody hell. I just bought 2 sets of low wind Imperial aged for my 335 and Nev's 335.
Right.
They were not cheap.
Yeah, right.
So, I think that's largely down to import and all that.
Right.
Nev's going to pay for one of the sets, obviously. We're going to change the pickups in my 335 and his 335 and film it. Sorry, you were saying tuners upgrade.
Yeah, it's a significant thing. There are it's the copy of the original Clousons that are really nice. I love those.
I'm pretty sure that's what it's got.
Really?
Yeah, so the sort of regular cost-effective, whether they're made by Goto or Ping or whoever makes them, Cluson copies, you've got to go a long way to get any better than
Yeah,
those.
definitely.
I'm not sure that's a worthy upgrade personally.
Oh, okay. I'd be really interested to see if it does have those on, because from memory, that guitar didn't cost a whole lot.
You are correct.
Right. There you go.
Yeah. You are correct, Dan, sorry.
Right.
It just has the regular... Yeah.
Squire ones on there.
Yeah. No, it's got these ones on there.
Yeah, and they're groovy.
Oh, hang on. Can you cover your face?
They can, for many reasons. All good? Oh, stop! Don't look down.
It's got those ones on there, regular Squire ones, and I'm sure they're totally fine. The problem you've got is you'll need to know the ferrule diameter,
Oh, of course.
because it could be that they're bigger than the vintage style ones. Personally, Dan and I are massive fans, as he was trying to say, and I so rudely interrupted him, those tuners, which for the benefit of our podcast listeners are the standard slot head, old school Fender Cluson ones.
Yeah, they're wonderful. But they're great guitars, and when you start looking at things like new pickups and bridge plates and bridges and stuff like that, that stuff really makes a difference. If you're going to put new pickups in there, don't forget about the rest of the electronics, because the pots and things in there are not awesome. So that will make a massive difference as well. I would sooner you upgrade the pots and electrics, like at a Loom from Monty's or Emerson. I'd sooner you do that than upgrade the tuners.
Yeah, the tuners is yeah.
I thought you were doing that. Very nice.
When Wendy plays that on the record, you hear her going,
Yeah. And she's like, I got to get this chord, otherwise I'm out the band. She does. Beautiful job. I'll have it over this side, actually, because my rack's a bit thin.
nice and full. For those of you who don't know, I've had an utterly insane guitar acquisition few weeks, which has involved some dreadful timing, some good luck, and some financial peril. But I'll tell the story in due course. Yeah,
Look at that though.
it's pretty good. I got some. I put some more relief in the neck.
Show me.
I was having trouble getting the action high enough, which sounds crazy about a vintage Strat, doesn't it?
So, anyone that's unaware, this is Mick's 1961 Fender Strat. It's the one that he's been using on the show for a while. It was loaned to him by a very lovely chap named Simon. And Simon decided to sell it. And
It's a reefing
Yes, and it's the best Strat I've ever heard. Just is.
this week. It does sound pretty good, actually.
The best guitar sound I've ever heard. I turned up to film one day.
Here,
Here. As
important qualification, Daniel.
well, yeah. Among one of the best guitar sounds I've ever heard, period. Best guitar sound I ever heard here. I turned up to film and I stood outside the door before I came in and I just stood there thinking, what on earth is that? And Mick was flowing.
Thank you, Paul Maturovich.
He was absolutely flowing. It was just stunning. And I thought, oh my word. I had no idea. I opened the door and Mick was playing this into his 2-rock. He had his fuzz pedal on and he was just away. It's the most stunning guitar I've ever heard. Like, you know, it's guitar sound. But this thing is...
George, I do. Hang on, Joel E. I do still have the gold custom shop. I really love that guitar. I just had the opportunity to get this and moved a few. Made a decision or two that was questionable, but did it anyway because it's literally now or never. And I've been waiting 25 years to do it, and I did it. But yeah, I'm very happy, and thank you for all the kind words that are coming in. Eagle Ray Rob. Mike Hardy, how much? I'm clearly not going to tell you that, Mike. What I will say is
some new music for
when
you.
guitars get traded between friends and people who come to an understanding, it's not the same numbers you see when they're advertised in stores, right? Because maybe there's another condition or two, or maybe it's done with a bit of good faith and a handshake about what happens next. So don't be thinking it was mortgage money, because it wasn't. It was Simon did me a solid on the price. So yeah,
It's sensational.
it is a really good guitar.
It's sensational.
It is a really good guitar.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look, there's not much more. I can't get any more up on there.
Yeah. That's just, yeah,
Anyway, yeah.
beautiful.
Thank you for the now or never indeed, says second note. Never rains but it pours, says Todd Roy. Yeah, it does. And like I say, if you look at it in the context of 3 months, it's utterly ridiculous. If you look at it in the context of 25 years, it's not quite so ridiculous.
Yeah.
I do feel a little bit guilty about it,
Don't
but not that guilty about
Yeah.
it. I got mates who will lose more on the depreciation on their cars in the next 2 years than that costs. So swings and roundabouts, isn't it?
Indeed.
Swings and roundabouts.
Indeed.
Right, sorry, back to the chats.
Just to say, I've never heard you so free on an instrument as when you play this. It's lovely.
Well, it's funny, when last week we did the 201 video and I was playing it just before we got going, I did feel completely at home. And if it's psychosomatic, it's worth double the money.
Yes.
Because you can't buy that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so Mike, what we would say about the Danish Pete Squire is, yeah, the pickup's definitely worth doing. We would say the tuner's more of a harder to quantify the benefit of that upgrade.
Yeah, but if you like the guitar, if you like the way it plays, and if you like the way it feels and sounds stuff, yeah, absolutely. I actually did a video where I upgraded pickups in a very similar guitar, and it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
Really worth it. Yeah, well done, mate. Great.
It usually is. Soren led it. Hello, Soren.
Hey,
nice,
Soren.
Nice to hear from you. He says, no question, you guys are legends and keep it coming with great shows. Keep at it. Thank you, Soren.
buddy.
Nice to hear from you again. Tree of Life. Just a FYI that a Roland JC40 is a compelling answer for a wet amp in a wet-dry setup. No arguments here.
Yeah. It can be. They're a bit noisy.
Yeah, Dan has a problem with the noise floor in the JC40. All I would say was that Chris Ainsley's cranked Rift amp was pretty noisy.
So that's a really, really good shout.
And it wasn't noisy because it's not designed well. It's noisy because it's gainy and really loud.
Yeah. My issue with the JC40 is it's noisy when it's clean.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Have they not done it? Presumably they must have done some work on that because it was an issue right from day one.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. It's a good shout though, Tree of Life. We certainly liked it very much when we had it on the show.
It is a beautiful thing.
Colin Diamond. Hello, Colin.
Hey, Colin.
Can I run wet, dry, wet using 2 channels on one amp and 1 channel on another? I have a Blackstar Artisan 15 and a Vox AC 15, and that's from Colin near Stroud. Hello, Colin near Stroud.
So yes, you can. And the way you'd have to do it is this. You would have to split the signal. So let's say you want your AC15 to be dry and in the center, right? Split your signal at the front. One goes into the AC15. The other side of the split signal goes into your. If you want any overdrives in front of the 2-channel amplifier, then that split signal will go into the overdrive pedals, out of the overdrive pedals into the input of the 2-channel amplifier, out of the send of that amplifier into the wet effects, and then what you'd need to do is if you're going stereo, because you said wet, dry, wet, you would have to go left side back into the effects return of that amp, right side back into a power amp to give you the stereo feel. So you have your AC15 in the center and you got your 2 things on the outside. The only thing to remember, if you're switching channels on a 2-channel amplifier and you've still got your dry channel in the middle, is to make sure that both the channels on the wet amp are in phase. Yeah. Quite often, they're not.
Yeah, they'll flip the phase when you change the channel.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about, running, let's say, a stereo, so you get your 2 wets into 2 channels of your AC15, it will work, but you won't get the stereo effect because both stereo is going to be coming out of both speakers.
Yeah.
So you won't get a left-right, you're getting left and right out of the 2 speakers. But that notwithstanding, I think you get some really, really great sounds doing it that way.
Yeah,
Even though it wouldn't be true stereo, I think you get some really, really cool sounds doing it. I do. Yes. Yeah. Hope that's clear enough.
Yeah. Oh, a quick question. And this is from Rob Symington. He says, the big question, have you still got blue? Mick does indeed still have blue. It is a tremendous guitar and it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, Dan, and I was going to let it go because I had to raise some money for the new guitars, and with the best will in the world, I'm not going to play blue really very much anymore. Yeah. Because it's not the guitar that is, or the gold one, or the other gold one is. Don't get me wrong, I love it and it means a lot to me in terms of it being an important guitar in my life. Mm. But then you get to the point where you go, well, actually, if I'm not going to play it, it needs to go to someone who is going to love it and is going to play it. But we discussed it, and it's like there is no amount of money that's going to make that worth it for me to part with a guitar, because its market value as a guitar is pretty low.
Yeah, but it's an iconic guitar,
and somebody might flip it on.
Exactly,
and then it all gets a bit difficult. So what will happen to blue is it will stay here, and one day I'm going to meet someone who goes, I flipping love this guitar, I'm totally in love with it, and I'm going to say it's yours on the proviso you give it to somebody in the same vein somewhere down the line.
Brian Mills says you've got to keep red and blue together, and I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
But
But it's a lovely.
I'm just not one for getting emotionally attached
Sure. Well,
to things.
I'll be off then.
Well, I mean, I am emotionally attached to it, but I'm emotionally attached to it because it
Was the culmination
it's the
of
pinnacle of
25
electric
years.
guitar.
Of course. Yeah. Of course.
And well, for me it is anyway, and therefore it does something for me that, bless it, my old blue guitar, love it as I did, useful tool as it's been. You know, it's not a human being; it's an article. It probably sounds very hard and uncaring, but they are, they are things at the end of the day. They're not humans or animals, so yeah. The other alternative is to try and do something different with blue, like, I don't know, whatever. I mean, I can hear it from here.
Just rings.
When it first got lent to us, I wasn't prepared to accept that it was a great guitar, because I'm like, vintage hubris, load of old mumbo jumbo. We're just completely drunk on the fact that it's an old guitar. But the more I hear it, the more I'm like, oh my God, it really does sound good.
That's amazing.
It really does sound good. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. Justin Garcia says, congrats on the special guitar, Mick. Really special for sure. If you ever sell blue, just sell it to a friend you know will play it. That's what I did with my first ride. Ride or die. Pay it forward. Yeah, I'm definitely of that spirit, Justin.
Yeah.
The guitar will hopefully help somebody become inspired, and that's what guitars are for.
Yeah, sure. Lovely. Very nice.
Dan, what are you doing? Says Perilous Temple. Have you had time? Have you had time for that Marillion record? I can't stop listening. Apparently, Perilous Temple suggested a Marillion record you should listen to.
Oh, no, I haven't. No, I haven't. I really should. How fun is this? I got an email from a very dear friend, a guy called Ian Bond, who's Bondy sound guy for Marillion and Stephen Wilson and Porcupine Tree when they're doing their thing. Anyway, he says he won't believe what I found. I'm like, and we did the gig supporting Marillion. He recorded it as stems.
Oh, no
He
way.
recorded all the tracks.
So anyway, you can redo all the guitar.
So and I thought, this is going to be a disaster, because I remember the gig, and I remember thinking that it was really special, but I was so excited, and I thought, oh man, I'm going to be pushing all over the place, and anyway, Mark came over because we're writing some new tunes at the moment, and I said, oh, look, Bondy sent us this, and I just imported all the stems directly into Logic. I didn't put anything on them, right? I just turned them up. And we sat there for like an hour and a half, listening to it going, holy crap. It was really, really good.
Really?
It was really great. Vocals. I mean, Mark's vocal was flippin' amazing. I'm sitting there going, I didn't know that's what you sound like at the front. It was just awesome.
Oh, that's
great.
great.
So, yeah, it was like, it was really, really lovely. Really
Nice.
lovely to have that.
That's lovely, isn't it? Because I guess when you're doing a gig like that and you're playing with your heroes and stuff, and there's probably a huge amount of adrenaline where you've got to be on it.
Oh man! Well, we were the last support band of the weekend. We were on the Saturday night. Was it Saturday night? Yeah.
They were still booing the last band.
They were still booing the last band when we came on.
Yeah.
It's got this much talent. And it was just such a special moment. Yeah. So anyway, there you go.
Very nice.
Perilous Temple says, OMG, please make the Tin Spirits live album. I would love to. We're doing something new now, a new band with Paul Stacey. Dave's wants to, play and stuff. Love Dave. He's a very dear friend. And he's coming back on the show, actually. We're doing a Firebird special.
Wicked.
Going to get Dave back in, Mr. Dave Gregory.
Could you steal one of his Rickenbackers, do you think? Surreptitiously?
And just so I can borrow it for a while.
Yeah, we need a 12-string for the TPS gigs with Andy Timmons.
Okay.
We need to get one. So I don't want to borrow one of Dave's because they're all vintage and important to him. But
yeah.
If you could steal it without him noticing,
I can do that.
That would be easier.
Yeah, no worries.
Than
I'll do that.
than an official borrow.
Yep. It's like, is there someone in my house? No, it's just your tinnitus.
Yeah. Hello from sunny Pembrokeshire, says Tom Bromby. Yes, it has been a really glorious day in the United Kingdom today.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
He says, I can't think of a question, so have a beer on me instead.
Ah, thank you, mate.
That's very kind of you, Tom.
Yeah.
There may be a meat feast coming later. Dan's staying over tonight because we're filming tomorrow.
Come on, I had a half an ale last week.
Did you?
The first time in years. It was so lovely.
My friend Doug brought me some ale. Dan and I both stopped drinking ale. Dan because it's just bloats you out and it's carbs, right?
Well, it's not just carbs. I mean, I like carbs, but for some reason, beer just makes you go, whoom.
Yeah.
And I just, I find it really hard to keep weight off if I'm drinking beer.
Yeah. It genuinely makes me depressed, and I thought it was a joke.
Really?
I thought it was I thought I was imagining it, so I thought I'll just try a couple of beers, and had it, and I felt really rubbish for the next week.
No
so
way.
maybe we'll give that a go tonight.
I had a pale ale, made me depressed on how tasty it was.
Yeah, I've got some in the fridge.
Awesome.
Let's try it. We could if we have just half a can each.
And then if we have half a can each, then we can have 2 cans.
See if we can. Yeah, there you go.
Love it.
Then we can see if we can make it through tomorrow.
Brilliant.
Albus Band, Aaron, he says, it's like fire and ice, basically. I feel my role is to be somewhere in the middle, like lukewarm water.
So you feel like you're a preserved moose.
Actually, it's Derek, isn't it, that does that line. Lukewarm water. Glad to have you back. If they made a movie of your life, who would be cast as you? Always great questions, Aaron.
Oh, man. Who would be cast as me? The luckiest guy that ever lived. Whoever that is would be cast as me.
Oh, God. Who do I like?
Who's got the range to play me? Let's see. Johnny Depp.
Nice choice. Nice choice.
I saw him.
I'm going to go with Ben Affleck.
I saw him play. I was at NAM,
Yeah.
and there was a gig, and it was who was it? It was Alice Cooper, Mike Campbell, Alice Cooper, and Johnny Depp.
Yeah, it would have been a Duesenberg thing, wouldn't it?
Duesenberg thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was great.
Yeah. He used to live in the Royal Crescent in Bath.
Really?
Yeah. I used to borrow the odd guitar off people we know.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I would say...
Nicholas Cage, Liebenberg says, that is excellent. I think the closer one is from William De Silva is Steve Buscemi. I'm the greatest guitar player in the world, man. Yeah.
Dave Buscemi, nice.
That's great.
Ben Arslek says... Halvard Trigset says Ben Kingsley for Dan.
Very good.
That's rough. That's rough.
Very good.
Or Hugh Grant, maybe.
No, what is it?
Sorry.
What's his name that everyone mistakes me for?
Billy Bob Thornton?
No. No.
Oh, the comedian.
Yeah.
Yeah, him.
Another disgraced. And yet he won a Grammy.
Yeah.
For his latest album. What's his name?
Louis C.K.
Louis C.K. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so many people.
There we go.
So many people.
Jack Black.
Richard Dreyfuss for Dan. Come on, I think we could come back a generation, or at least one generation from there. You'd be a great Jack Black. Jack Black would be a great dude.
No, Jack Black would need to be Dougie.
Yes.
Oh, very good.
Yes. Matt Damon, says the feel button.
Matt Damon.
Yeah, that's great. That's good.
Who did say who would play you?
I want Ben Affleck or Hugh Grant.
Okay. Right. Hugh Affleck. Excellent.
I think.
Steve Salazar says Mr. Bean is both Dan and Mick. Did you see his opening at the Olympic Games when he was... Oh, so funny.
As Mr. Bean?
As Mr. Bean.
No, I can't do it.
No. He was in the orchestra playing keyboards, and it was Chariots of Fire. And he sits there going, ding, 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 ding on the keyboards. He's looking at the sheet music, he goes, and it's just that note for the whole thing. It was so
I can't do
good.
it. I can't do it.
Oh, it was so good.
It's the worst thing about British comedy stuff like Mr. Bean.
Oh, no, it's funny. It's funny.
No. Jason Thompson. I have to go and watch the Monty Python and erase my memory of it. Jason Thompson says, leg ends. I'm about to install a blender on my Strat.
Nice.
What would happen if I hooked up a non-reverse wound reverse polarity pickup, middle pickup? Would there be a huge volume jump when using position 2 and 4?
Only if you do it in series.
Yeah, don't get polarity and winds confused with series and parallels.
Yeah.
Not the same thing. No, you'll be fine.
Yep.
Yeah, blender's a good shout actually. For those of you who don't know, you can, for example, put the neck pickup on a separate pot, or indeed a pot which blends it in or out.
Yeah.
Which means you can have the setting on a Strat which you can't have via the 5-way, which is bridge and neck pickups. I believe Mr. Gilmore liked that.
Okay.
But then he liked everything.
You liked a lot of things.
But no, that'll be fine. Totally fine. Tom Bromby, me again. I thought of one. Who'd win in a fight between a horse-sized Mick or 100 duck-sized Dans?
I have horse-sized Mick, we got to say.
No, I mean, Dan would win in any fight against me. I think he knows...
ball grabbing.
He knows how to grab another man's sack and drag him to the ground. 100 duck-sized Dans.
100 duck-sized Dan.
I love ducks. When they're flying, they're like... aren't they? They're like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
I'm actually in the air.
Quick, land. Great question, Tom. Paul Matulovic. Hello, Paul. He says, based on a prior viewer comment, I got the Past FX C1 and Dan must get one. I played the chords and my bed burst into flames and I became plagued with insomnia. It was awesome.
Wow.
Past
Your
FX
bed burst into
C1.
flames. Is that a...
Midnight Oil.
Midnight
reference.
Oil, yeah, beds are burning.
Bit of string business.
Yeah.
I can hear all sorts of things rattling. It's a voyage of discovery.
Yeah, what a magic band. Seen them loads live in Australia and far out, they were just extraordinary. And then, so Jim Magini, the guitar player, and I heard his CU1 sound, is like, I have to have that. That was great.
Nice overdrive.
Yeah, I have to. It's interesting. I'll check it out because the thing a lot of people miss about the CU1 is that preamp, and you can get the. I can understand how you can get the modulation. You just asymmetrical wave. It's really key to that sound, but man, that preamp and when you dig in and the way it saturates is everything about the CU1. And I've never heard another CU1 clone do it, so I'll have to check it out. Because if you're saying it does that, well then, I'm in.
Indeed, yes. Nice looking Strat chap, says Matt Miller. JPaw13, what's the Strat? Yes, it is now Mick's 61 refin Strat.
Just 61. Oh, it's got the original switch on it too.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's all. There's one pot change underneath here.
It's all original.
Other than that, all original.
That's so good.
Pickguard hasn't even broken.
Wow. That's
Still
so
got the
good.
tagger on it.
Tagger.
You've seen enough of that one.
We got there's a missing super chat apparently from Ryan Long.
Okay, we haven't quite got there yet. But
Oh,
go
okay.
for it.
All right. Sorry. It says, if you have stereo pedals hooked up, but only take the left mono out, are you only getting half the signal? So, right. No. You're only getting half the image, but the signal isn't half. If you have a stereo signal, it goes through. Your guitar goes in, it goes through a buffer, it splits it, and then processes them separately, but the level will still be the same. So you're only going to get half of the image You might have, let's say you've got a ping pong delay in stereo, so you hear the delays going left and right. If you only plug into the left-hand side, you're only going to hear the left ping pong delay, but it's not going to be like half the volume. It'll just be one side of the image.
There we are.
There we are.
There we are.
Man, you mentioned meat feast tonight. My stomach's just gone,
Give me
meat.
I don't have any. We'll have to acquire some meat from
Oh, okay,
somewhere.
that's fine.
Jolly Willard says, I'm so inspired by the Mesa Boogie episode. I tried wet dry with my Stereo Rivera Q-Cab 212 with a Laney 5 watt and a Showman 65 watt, attenuated with an Ironman 2. No stereo signal. Do watts matter or just impedance?
In wet dry thing, yeah. I mean, well, everything matters. What's really important about mix, the way that Mick's done it, is the power section for the left and right is identical. So, for example, when you hear that stereo reverb, you're hearing
It's the same.
it's the same thing. You get this beautiful stereo image, and I think that's, for me, same thing when I hear Andy Timmons, right?
Yeah.
And he uses his Lone Star rig. He's using one preamp of the Lone Star, and it's stereo out into both power amps, and it's like it is Ben-Hur huge. And you got that consistency where everything is perfectly in phase. The difference doing with different power amps and different amps for one side and the other sounds great, and you get this coupling together, and it's a magic sound, and I love it. But it's quite a different thing.
It's a different thing, yeah. If you watch Dan's recent pedal board build, that's what he's doing. He's taking the Lazy J, which is overdriving from the amp. So in this case, let's say you've got your Laney 5 watt cranked, and that's doing the overdrive, whereas your even attenuated, the 65 watt Showman may have more headroom, and you could then choose if you want. Again, a bit like we did with Ainsley on Friday, you could choose to send an overdrive pedal just to one of those amps to even up the gain structure a bit.
I loved how he did that.
It was really cool,
Really
actually.
cool.
On the one hand, having different gains and headroom in the amps can be a cool thing if that's what you want. On the other hand, if you're not quite there yet and you just want a consistent presentation across the two amps, having a similar gain and headroom in the two amps is easier place to start.
Yeah.
If you start there, then you can vary it and understand what's going on when you vary it.
Because the gain structures are the same, and this is so important. When you're dealing with overdrives and pushing them into two different amplifiers, if the gain structures are different, again, which I love, but then you have to change things with different volumes, right? You'll have a different level of saturation in one amplifier, the more it goes up, and then you've got to adjust things on the other amplifier. With the same amplifier, because the gain structure remains consistent, then it's just turning them up and down and, dealing with that appropriately. The way that Mick's done it, which is why it's so cool, because it has truly endless forever headroom with those two EV speakers, which just will not distort, 200 watts each. You'd have to stick so much into them.
It just reminded me. I've often said over the years, I just don't dig speaker distortion.
Right, there you go.
Generally.
Yeah.
And I say generally because if you're recording a small amp and you want that,
yeah,
there's no other way to do it.
Yeah, of course.
But generally, for the kind of playing I like, I just love that. I love the headroom. I flipping love it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it never mushes out.
Yeah. But it's a different thing to play, right? Because playing with a super saturated amp with cone cry and everything, and it feels really spongy and that sort of stuff. Playing with an amp with that level of headroom, because it's so dynamic, it can be really hard because you hear everything so clearly.
Yeah, and it's how you've grown up, isn't it? So if you've grown up doing it one way, you're finding the other way a bit more challenging and vice versa. And I think that's why I struggle with power sections and speaker cabs that are dying, because when I cut my teeth as a younger player, I had 100 watt boogies. That's what I had.
Yeah.
And they were flipping no prisoners.
Yeah, maybe.
Least of all me. So yes, watts do matter, Jolly. They matter in terms of the relative headroom between the two sides. But whether you want that or you don't want it is really your decision. Yeah, good luck. Marcus Rogers, hello.
Hello, Marcus.
Good morning from Washington, D.C.
Oh, lovely.
Any thoughts on achieving synth tones by using fuzz into various analog modulation or filter pedals? Thank you.
Great. Grab a fuzz, grab a like a T-wire, just an envelope filter, and you have the basis for a synth.
Yeah. Pog.
Yeah, I mean, Pog's amazing.
Electro-harmonics Pog, if you don't know what that is.
Yeah. I love doing that stuff. There's a Digitech had a thing called a synth wire, which I used to use a lot, but I'd have to stick an overdrive pedal, like I used to use an Eternity, a Love pedal Eternity.
We've got one somewhere.
Yeah, my old one, my old handmade jobby. That, and really distorted into the synth wire, which gave the sort of the square wave edges and the synthiness to it. Man alive, it's unreal. So yeah, it's a really, really cool thing to do. If you have a fuzz, an octave generator which can do above and below,
yeah,
and a filter, you're a long way there.
Yeah, there you go. So you need 3 pedals basically. What do we say? Boss OC, the Boss OC series do up and down, don't they?
Yeah,
I believe.
Yeah, they do. The new ones do, absolutely.
Yeah,
and they're really
good. I think they're on now, maybe.
And you've got all the electro-harmonics ones that do that. You've got the micro pog.
Yeah, and when you say a filter, do you mean like an envelope, like an auto wire type filter?
Yeah, an envelope filter.
Yeah, Analog Man do a great one. There's lots of good ones out there. The Boss one's pretty good.
And make sure that you can reverse the filter, so it can either go wow or ow, as in the filter's going to open up when you hit the attack, or the filter's going to close when you hit the attack.
Sasha Ivantic is in the chat. Hello, Sasha.
Hello, Sasha.
If you haven't checked out Sasha's channel yet, please do. Awesome player. Hello to you, mate. Thank you for being here. He's still in the honeymoon phase, he says. So congratulations if you've just got married, unless you've just got a new guitar, which could also be a honeymoon phase. Oh, yes, he's got a 140, so I wonder if that is a...
Victory?
Victory, yeah.
That's such a flippin' magic amp.
Great amp. Tommy Krapweiss. Tommy Krapweiss. He says, hello from Munich, Bavaria.
Oh, lovely.
Munich. I found you just recently and now I'm practically binging all your stuff. I already learned so much from you guys. Your EQ as boost tip solved a big problem for my setup. Thank you.
Oh, fantastic, mate.
Welcome,
Wonderful.
Tommy.
Yeah, welcome.
Welcome to the family. Hope you feel at home here. Lots of very nice people and we're glad it's useful to you. Thank you for your kindness. Jamal Hill Richardson Albini. I say this every time. I wonder if you're related to Steve Albini. Let us know if you are. Not that it matters either way. Anyway, Jamal Hill Richardson Albini says, I love the wet dry single cab using the preamp. I was thinking of using the new Victory Duchess and Copper as my pre's with 2x12 cabs wet dry, bit more portable and a line out to a sound guy. What are your thoughts? Yes, are our thoughts. That would work great. So the new Victory V4s have got 2 notes stuff in them.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, and I don't know if it's 2 notes or one of the other providers, but they've got direct out with cab simulation, should you wish to use that, which is a pretty sensible addition to that format unit. That would work great. Interesting enough, somebody said in the comments earlier, did you think about using 2 separate preamps instead of just the Maiden and then split? Indeed I did. I was going to use a Constable as well, but I couldn't get the gains to sit quite right together. One was too gainy, one not enough. And just while I got used to it, my brain was struggling with the 2 gain levels. Yeah.
But you got all the gain you need. It sounds flippant magical.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you use 2 separate ones like you're talking about, Jamal, you get more of that 2 amps mixed thing rather than 1 amp split.
Right.
Yeah, which is a really cool way to do it. And as you say, incredibly portable. Alan Mabe. Hello, Alan.
Hello, Alan.
We've got a chat from you, but no question. I'll just see if BV has sent. Not yet. We'll keep our eye on that. Paul Matulovic, do you know of a device for power leads to act as a kill switch for pedals that require the interruption to access secondary functions? So, for example, where you pull the lead out of the 202, you power it up with one of the buttons held down, then you go into the edit mode, so you need to disconnect and reconnect the power.
I haven't heard of anything, but it was a really simple thing to do, to have a momentary switch between two power leads and just disconnect it and then reconnect it. So yeah, there must be something out there. Search Amazon, they've got everything. They have pink ones with wonderful graphic design by...
and then you'll buy it and get 15,000 emails asking for a review.
Yeah.
God, I left such a bad-tempered review on a cables thing the other day. I think it was the cables are totally fine. They work. They turned up on time and I'm really happy, but please don't ask me for a review. Leave me alone.
Excellent. Grrr.
Yeah, exactly that. Oh, it just does my nutting. FIFO this and Trustpilot that. It's all bollocks. Anyway. Matt Lloyd. Hello, Matt.
Hey, buddy.
Just wanted to say hi and wish both of you well. It brightens my day to see you.
Ah, Matt. That's so lovely.
It brightens our day to hear from you, Matt.
Yeah,
Hope
mate.
you're doing well, buddy.
Indeed.
I believe you were talking about starting your own business. Or you have. Forgive me if I'm misremembering that. Anyway, whatever you're doing, Matt, we wish you well with it. Wyatt Louth. Have you got any tips for playing lead, presumably lead guitar, under vocals? I always try to be conspicuous and not step on the vocals, but sometimes I just don't know what to play without breaking into a solo in the middle of the third verse. Thanks for all you do. Right. Number one, consider it call and answer. So have a conversation with the vocalist is probably the best way to do it.
The conversation goes, "You're too loud!"
Yeah. And as we all know from family dinners, a good conversation is not when everyone is talking at once. A good conversation is when one person talks, the other person responds. But doesn't just respond having not listened to what the person has said, actually considers what the person has said and responds accordingly. That is a conversation, rather than just going white knuckles until the damn singer has finished their line so you can blast out your riff. That does not good music make.
Yeah.
So that's one way to do it. The other way to do it, listen to Queen.
Yeah.
Listen to Brian May. I was listening to, we were going to do Don't Stop Me Now last week at the gig. And it reminds me a lot of We Are the Champions. Bear with me. Starts off, the guitar builds through it. By the end, Brian is playing quite a lot under the vocals on both songs as the lead parts build.
Yeah.
Absolutely mad guitar sound as well. Utterly mad guitar sound in Don't Stop Me Now. There's two very distinct guitar sounds. One which I assume is his AC30s, the other which I assume is the D key. I don't know. Exactly that. And the way Brian was doing it was not necessarily a call and response thing. It was very much a lead underneath.
Yeah.
But then, of course, you've got Freddie.
Yeah.
I think Eddie Van Halen could have played under Freddie and Freddie would still have won the show, wouldn't he?
Yep.
Any thoughts, Dan?
Well, it's just about being sensitive. You're not competing. You're trying to be more than the sum of the parts. And it's about listening to each other. And then Freddie is such a great example because he was so inspired by what Brian May did, and he was so reactive, and the chemistry they had was great, and that all stems from listening and being sensitive. We're rehearsing Rosanna and listening to the end of Rosanna, and listen to Steve Lukather and the way he leaves space for the keys, and it becomes this thing, and it's like, it's just great. And that's all about listening.
Yeah.
You know.
There you go. Somebody here has said, learn the melody, says Jimmy V.
Yeah,
that's a really good shout.
Yeah.
Play a nice tonic that's sympathetic with the vocals.
Yeah.
Arcade Fire springs to mind.
I tell you what, I'm going to do a video on this because I found this fascinating. I was watching a bit of Chris Buck the other day, listening to him play and thinking, you know, he's just the melodies everywhere with what he plays, right?
Yeah.
And I remembered him saying, well, I just listened to vocals trying to copy what they did. I was like, oh, okay. And I went back and had a listen to a couple of other guitar players. And it's like if you know, it's really great to be able to do, you know, all the stuff. But if you can't play a simple melody, unlike that.
I remain not good at that. And I remembered realising...
You are good at that.
I remembered realising that I couldn't pick out melodies on guitar, and I was rubbish at it because all I knew was minor pentatonic. So what I did was I'd have my guitar while watching TV, and I'd play along with the theme tunes, and I would learn the theme tunes.
Right. Because
they're usually not odd melodies. They are usually predictably roughly diatonic melodies, aren't they?
But nearly all the melodies are, and you can sort of pick them out.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting when you hear a guitar player play a beautiful melody. Everything else...
Well, those are the solos you end up singing.
Exactly. So it's really great to be able to do all that stuff. But if what you're trying to do is be musical, especially at the end of a song, you know, man, just play a simple melody and make it work. Pick your favourite melody from a song that you like and try and play it on guitar, just the melody, and make it work. Because there's so much, you know, we've got these frets and we can go, you know, but there's, when you hear a vocalist and you know, all that stuff that they're doing.
No frets in your throat.
No, exactly.
Well, that's just stood too close to Keith Richards.
Yeah. But that's you know, that is such an important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Melody.
Yep.
Pav S says, nice watch, Mick. What is it? It's a Citizen Grand Touring. My wife bought it for me. It's sort of their nod to Panerai, I guess. Thank you. It's on a NATO type strap.
Just whenever that happens, it always reminds me of Plane, Trains and Automobiles, where Steve Martin takes off his watch because I don't have any money. They're at the motel. Steve Martin takes off his watch and he's like, you know, $2,000 watch. He goes, you know, this is extraordinary and stuff, and, you know, gives it to the clerk. He gets his keys for the room. And John Candy takes off his watch and goes, Casio.
Mitch Etchison, do you have any experience with the amp from Milkman? If so, how does it compare with the V4 series from Victory? It's simpler than the V4 series from Victory. V4 series from Victory also has a lot more gain in it, all of them, from what I can remember. But I think I remember liking the sound of the Milkman. Been a while.
Yeah, we had it at NAMM, didn't we, years ago?
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Tijel Kurovitz, do you know of any old Marshalls or Voxes or Magnetones that sound epic and are relatively affordable? No.
You can have two of the three, right?
Yeah. Old, epic, affordable. No, pick two of those three, and you can probably have two of the three. It's the creative triangle.
Yeah.
Philip Harris, Mick's new guitar. You going to plug and play? No, you can hear it on the show, Philip. It has been on the show quite a bit, to be fair, because it was here for a long time before. We can't plug in here because we don't have. We're just not set up to record guitars today. But you can hear it on previous shows. Probably its best outing was the Money No Object Rig Challenge from December 2019.
Magique.
Just before COVID kicked in.
Wow, was that long ago?
It was.
Wow,
It was. 'Cause I Yeah, Philip. No, we can't. We just can't plug in. Sorry, you've asked again. We can't do it. Someone else asked here. Somebody asked, question close to my heart. Tony Hill, are blue and transit van in new homes? They're not, Tony. Transit van is arguably for sale. There was a guy in the States wanted to buy it, but we couldn't figure out a way of getting it there without incurring legal, import duties or doing something illegal, which we're not doing. Graham Campbell, are you still enjoying the Jason Isbell telly? It has a new owner
who is enjoying it greatly.
Who loves it greatly. It's helped fund this. It was Marius Hurto. Hello, Marius Hurto. He says, do you have any post-processing on your guitar tones in your videos? No. We have microphones on the cabinets, and there are 2 mics in the room at the back there. They come out, so the mics come off the cabs and they hit 2 Meris 440 analog preamps, and they are set flat. There's no EQ on those. I got them with the thought that maybe we would boost that 4K a little bit, but no, they're flat.
Yep.
Convolutedly, and in the last 3 or 4 shows, that then hits our Midas desk, which is all analog, and again, the most minimal EQ, and I push 10K a bit, I push 3.2 just a tiny bit, I lose off some 240 because we have a standing wave in here that's somewhere around there, but we're talking like tiny bits of EQ, hardly anything, and it is corrective EQ for the room rather than EQ to make it sound better or worse or whatever you might want to say. 3.2 kilohertz is interesting. It's where I find somewhere between 3.2 and 4 is where you get bite out of distortion.
Right.
10 to 12K is where you get air. So that's all good. Depending on the amp, I might use the 50 hertz bass cut switch somewhere. But that's it.
Yeah. But the important thing to note is what we're doing now, like everything is analog. Before, like all that stuff, anything that we need to change or correct for is done in an analog state before it hits.
Yeah, I'm trying to push it as far down the line before we do any DSP on it at all.
Yeah.
Or before there's any ADA, ADDA, conversion. And that is simply because the more straight analog recorded tones I hear, the more I like them.
Yeah.
Now, we don't have tape. There's no way we can record all analog all the way. It's just not cost effective or worth it once it all goes up on YouTube. But what I found by pushing the digital as far down the chain as we possibly can is we get less, and that's a technical term.
Yeah.
Because there is, and it's not necessarily about it being digital. It's important to say this. It's about the headroom of the device you're using and the headroom it can cope with, and how good the converters are.
Yeah.
Because, the converter in a Zoom H6 is all right, but the thing costs 299 quid. And there is a reason why studio converters are insane money and have, endless, forever endlessly headroom. All of which is to say, no, there's no post-processing on the audio. It is a mix of the direct mics on the cabs and a stereo image of the room mics. They do get a bit more EQ because of where they're positioned, the room mics. So they have quite a lot of bottom end rolled off and quite a lot of high end rolled on, purely because of their position in the room.
Yeah,
it's a very compromised position.
But you're not hearing like a 50-50 split between the amps and the room mics. The room mics are just there to add a bit of space, to give you a bit more of an impression of what's going on in the room.
I've been putting more room mic in just recently.
Yeah.
And I think
but again, it
helps.
It's just a bit more. It's
if you only heard the room mics, it wouldn't sound very good at all.
Yeah.
So yes, thank you for the question. Right, sorry, massive digression. Pet Moxie wants to know I'm in the market for a custom Martin.
Nice.
That's a nice market to be in.
Wow.
I play a lot of Clive Carroll and Tommy Emmanuel type stuff.
Wow.
Is a Dreadnought the best choice for resonance?
I don't know. They're wonderful guitars, My personal favourite is OM style.
And you'll notice that's what Tommy and Clive both play.
Yeah, I just think there's a mid-range in them that projects like nothing else.
Yeah.
It's great.
What happens when you play a dreadnought is you get a load of bottom end that feels great. It's a bit like listening to a stereo Bluetooth speaker. It's like the most ridiculous EQ. Doesn't sound like music at all. Just sounds like it's the sonic equivalent of sugar. It's like, wow, this is awesome. And then you keep spooning the sugar in and you're like, wow, I feel a bit sick. Now, don't get me wrong. Dreadnoughts have been used on all kinds of music since they appeared in the very late 1920s, and it's a really fabulously wonderful sound, especially a really lovely dreadnought. And for that matter, jumbos, sloped shoulder dreadnought from the likes of Gibson, J45s and stuff like that. Endless famous records been made with them, and beautiful they are too.
And you listen to like the Everly Brothers and their acoustic guitars, and the way the vocal sits over that acoustic guitar sound, it truly is a thing of magic.
J180s was the Everly Brothers guitar designed for them, smaller J200. But I think for what you're talking about, balanced finger style, where you get a couple of things happening in OM. One, it's full scale length. So the difference between a Martin Triple O, for those of you who don't know, and an OM is in a big way the scale length. So an OM 24.9 inches and OM is 25.5. And that extra string scale gives you just a bit of extra tension, and you get, assuming the guitar's built right, you get that piano-like separation, which is a big deal in someone like Clive Carroll's playing. It's not always the case. There's plenty of people that have picked triple O's and sounded mega on them, and they can as well. But
what's the John
Renbourn?
No.
McLaughlin?
No, he had used a lot of effects. Real groundbreaker.
Oh, the Australian guy?
No. I know who you're thinking of. John Martin. And his was a dreadnought. And he sounded epic.
Yeah.
So, and it changes the guitar to the guitar as well.
Yeah. I would say if you're going to go for a dreadnought, try a mahogany one, because you get a bit more string. For me, you get a bit more clarity of note. But I don't know. It's going to depend from guitar to guitar.
Yeah.
I would go, personally speaking, for a Martin reimagined OM28.
Beautiful.
Or maybe you could be a bit fancy and go for a 42 with the extra inlays and stuff.
Right.
But if you're going to spend that much money, do check out the other things that are available around that kind of cash.
See if you can find a second-hand Kincaid kicking around. Doubt it, though.
I don't know what Clive's playing these days. Last time I saw him, he was playing Bown guitars, B-O-W-N, Ralph Bown. Really beautiful Martin-style guitars.
What's the Irish guitar maker?
Loudon. Yeah, very different thing, but also beautiful for fingerstyle.
Yeah.
Check out Filed. I mean...
Yeah, right.
John Smith, our friend John Smith, English. Again, a different voice, but a beautiful thing. So.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Excellent. Yeah, good luck, mate.
But we would say OM. I would say OM.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah. That said, listen to Robbie McIntosh's acoustic record. He plays a track called Dardy, and I don't actually think that's on the acoustic record, but it was a tribute to Marcel Dardy, who I think was killed in a helicopter crash. Anyway, that was a D18.
Right, wow.
The most stunning fingerstyle playing.
Yeah, he's a monster.
Yeah.
Just,
I guess maybe the answer is get the guitar you like playing the most.
Yeah, totally. Always.
Charles Parente. Hello, Charles.
Hey, Charles.
Thank you for your generosity, Charles. He says, greetings from Hawaii.
Oh, aloha. Mahalo. Isn't that it?
Not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mahalo with you.
There's the song, isn't there? That song. Yeah.
That one. That classic.
Wish I could remember the song now. He says, thank you for the guitar education over the past 2 years. When I sought episodes by oldest, I don't see any episodes where the two of you explain how you met and how you decided to start TPS. Keep up the great work. I think the first behind the scenes, we might have talked a little bit about that.
Yeah.
We discuss that. It's one of the things we talk about when we have experience days and we tell the story. I guess it might seem a bit...
First met in 2004, back when I, gigged on our first product, and Mick was the editor of my favourite guitar magazine at the time, called Guitar Buyer, and I'd not long been in the UK. And I just read this magazine and I thought I just loved it, and I'm sure these guys will get it. And that's how we met, and we've been friends ever since.
He had a cement mixer in the back of his ute.
Come check this out.
And I was driving my S-Class down Park Lane, and he scratched it all the way down the side.
Yeah, it's truth, mate.
It's truth,
Oh,
mate.
blimey. Put some speed stripes on your old...
We should tell the story, Charles. Maybe, I don't know, feels a bit ego-y to do it in a video, but I guess it's an interesting story, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you for the interest, Charles.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Do check out the first behind the scenes one we did. I can't remember if we discussed it in that. I remember sat there on camera talking about how we met. But we're probably a bit freer with the story now. Probably back then we were a bit worried about brand and not saying anything that was whatever. But I guess we should maybe do it.
Yeah. What, now? Or as a podcast?
No, because it takes
It's
too
a
long.
podcast.
Yeah.
It's a really good podcast, I think.
Yeah.
We can look into each other's eyes and tell the story of how we met.
I'd get the audio nice as well. I've been enjoying recording voices just recently.
Yeah. The podcasts sound amazing.
Nice Neumanns.
Yeah, beautiful.
Connor Larkin, hi Connor, he says, I just wanted to say that the Boogie Power Amp episode sounded absolutely glorious. It's one of the few non-Dumble things that actually sounded like a loud, headroomy Dumble. It got me thinking.
Yeah. Someone says it's the best clean tone we've ever had on the show.
So it's got all the high.
Yeah.
All the
high.
All the high.
And not high in a raspy, biting, annoying way.
Yeah, not super reverb.
No.
Bright,
it just
bright
has
switch high.
it has all the guitar frequencies that go up.
Bing.
And it's like, oh, that's...
Yeah.
And we'll talk about clarity and why it works so well on the band, because you've got all that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, here I am.
It is interesting, your observation about what the Dumble sound is or isn't. And of course, the caveat is the Dumble sound has been many things over the years. You think about people that have played them from, let's say, David Linley, Jackson Brown's band, through Robin Ford and Larry Carlton, Christopher Cross band, trying to think where you've heard them on record, Lowell George and Little Feat, Stevie Ray, right? So the Dumble sound is wide and varied. Santana.
Yeah.
What I think characterises the Dumble sound is it enables the person to sound like them.
Yeah.
But what the narrow version of what the Dumble overdrive sound is sometimes ends up sounding a bit like a compressed saxophone. So this bizarre, small, heavily gained, very mid-range thing.
And people say,
that's the Dumble sound.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, it's a lot more visceral than that.
Yeah.
That's one version of it.
Yeah.
And no doubt you can hear that somewhere. But yeah, I suppose it's a bit like saying the Fender sound, isn't it? Saying the Dumble sound.
Yeah, of course.
Because even though Strats and Tellys dominate rock and pop music, along with Les Pauls and 335s and SGs and all the other guitars we know and love, Buddy Holly sounded very different from Hank Marvin, from Clapton, from, you know, it's, I think all these instruments, no matter what they are the ones that enable the driver to go around the corners the best.
I mean, so obviously you've got Robin Ford and Larry Carlton who did wonderful things with Dumble. Actually, my favourite Larry Carlton clip with a Dumble is when he is playing in the band, the pit band, for it's like an old 70s clip.
Godspell.
No. Cradle of Filth.
Yeah. Danny Filth used to phone me up when I was editor of Metal Hammer.
Danny Filth? Was that his name?
He's the lead singer of Cradle of Filth, yeah.
Wow.
Those were the days.
She was in Meet the Fockers too. Really great. Come on, someone's going to tell me her name.
Sissy Spacek.
No. Amazing actress. Amazing singer. Not Linda Ronstadt. What am I was thinking of? Linda
Oh,
Ronstadt.
Bette Midler.
No, no, flippin' heck. Come on, she was in Beaches. She was in. No, she wasn't in Beaches. no, I got Bette Midler on my mind. Come on.
Jane Fonda. Olivia Newton-John.
She's no. She was in. Barbara Streisand. Thank you for crying out loud.
There we go. Andy Cooper.
Right.
Mike, the Guitar Closet. Hey, Pocky Wade. Thank you.
Right. So there's a clip of Larry Carlton playing in the pit band for
Babs.
for Barbara Streisand, and it is the most extraordinary guitar sound, and you can tell, like, he's in this pit band, you can tell he's loud.
He's got his Dumble in the pit.
He's got his Dumble, right? It's
like, imagine the conductor going.
And that's I think that's one of the first recorded clips of Larry Carlton and his Dumble.
Oh wow!
Right, and it is the most extraordinary sounding thing, and you can look on Larry's face. He is totally free. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
But now, obviously, the Larry and Robin, they've got their Dumble thing, and a lot of people have gone, oh, well, then that's the Dumble sound. But actually, no, that the scope of players have used Dumble and the sounds have got out of it.
Listen to Robin Ford live at Yoshi's and listen to Robin Ford talk to your daughter. Both Dumble, but both.
Yeah.
Well, I assume it's his Dumble. Certainly sounds like it live at Yoshi's. It's very, very, very different sounds.
Right.
Very different sounds.
Sorry, Paul Matulovic says, do you mean when he played with the Philharmonic? I'm not sure what it was, Paul. It might be that. But it's it's an old black and white clip, and then Babs is singing, and then you just hear this unbelievable guitar playing, and then the camera pans to where the musicians are, and everyone's looking like a very serious musician, except Larry, who is absolutely beaming. It's great.
Adam Oster says, do you think the SG is in the top 3 best guitars of all time?
Yes.
No.
The Gibson SG?
Top 3. Strat, Telly, Les Paul, 335, SG, it's number 5.
Okay.
For me.
Yeah. I put it... It's difficult, right? Because I love the Junior so much. It's such a great guitar. And I've heard some of them... Like, when I first heard Paul Stacey on his SG, he was playing with Neil Finn and the Finn Brothers tour. And he did the whole gig with his 64 SG.
How many SGs have you got, Dan?
I've got...
None.
None.
Not a single one.
No, that's true. But because I'm stuck on tellies. Yeah. Okay. All right. It's way down the bottom. But I do think get the right SG, and I think they're the most amazing guitar.
Yeah.
I can see why players who connect with them don't play anything else.
Yeah, I love them.
Yeah.
I genuinely love them, but again, inexplicably do not have one.
Yeah. Mr. Whit30 says, I put SGs above Les Pauls. It's really interesting.
Loads of people do.
Yeah. And I can totally see that. And
it depends on the Les Paul, of course.
It does depend on
because
Les
a lot
Paul.
of people's experience of Les Pauls are those Les Paul shaped objects from the 80s.
Yeah.
That some players absolutely love. Slash absolutely loved them.
Right.
And many others absolutely loved them. But for me, it's just bears so little resemblance to what I think of as a Les Paul, which is that thing that happened between 1958 and 1960.
Sure.
Oh, God. Shoot me now. BB Ninja says, SRV's first Dumble sound was through a borrowed 150-watt Dumble bass amp.
Wow.
Yeah, right. Nice.
Playing an SG, no doubt.
It's a Les Paul.
I know it's a Les Paul. But it's a lovely guitar.
Yeah. BV says lots of people asking about the Jason Isbell Telly. I sold it to help fund the Strat. So, yeah, it has a very happy new owner. In fact, I'm going to show you a picture of him. Very happy new owner, actually. I do feel a bit sad about it, but some stuff has got to go in order to fund the Strat. Here he is. You can't really see it. Anyway, his name's Charlie. and he's delighted with it. He sent me a text after to say he's been playing it all day and he absolutely loves it.
It's an amazing guitar.
It's a great guitar. I'm sad to see it go, but some stuff does have to go in order to fund the folly that's my 25-year dream.
Indeed.
Right. Sorry.
It's all right. How are we doing?
We're doing good. We're massive tangents have slowed us down, which, you know, is good.
That's what we do.
Square Wave Symphonies. Hello.
Hello, mate.
This is Alex, and he says, "Hey, Legends, it was my birthday last Monday."
Oh, happy birthday, bud.
Happy birthday, Alex. He says, "I got a Meris Mercury 7 from my girlfriend."
Oh, yeah, you did.
She's the best.
She loves you.
Yeah.
She genuinely loves you.
What a marvellous pedal.
Yeah.
Much love from Alex.
It's the reverb on my board, and I just think it's the most remarkable sounding thing.
Meris, just
wow.
doff of the cap to those
Sensational.
dudes. I mentioned it earlier, but we use a couple of their 500 series analog preamps, and they're just
magic.
really nice things. Jay Teaser says, "Hey DNM, love the recent shows, always so great. Dan, can the Gretches come out to play soon?"
Yeah, good. Yeah, good.
I think we should do it in the Space Echoes video tomorrow.
Yes, okay.
I was thinking that yesterday.
Yep,
actually.
great. I'll get some new strings on first thing. Might bring it back tonight actually when we string it. Oh no, we'll string it first thing. It's all right.
KJ Photo, curious if you will make any setup changes to the Lister Gold Strat. Cheers from the Big Apple. KJ Photo. Yeah. So just to add to the ridiculousness that's occurred in recent weeks, I've also acquired this. What happened was I'd given up on ever being able to own a 60 Strat.
Right.
Ainsley came in and brought this 70, and when I first saw it, you know, more than a year ago, I was like, man, that is a wicked.
You called me and said,
guitar.
I've just played this refin from Ainsley. It's this gold refin 70s thing, and you were buzzing about it then.
Anyway, and I thought, well, I'm never going to be able to afford a 60s one, so Ainsley said, actually, I'm selling the gold one because he'd found a couple of other maple neck 70s ones which he preferred, and I think he prefers the maple boards anyway. And I said,
and they sounded amazing here in the video. It was amazing.
Oh god. Anyway, again, he did me a solid on the price, so I got it. Awesome guitar that it is. And then Simon got in touch and said, actually, the 61 is for sale. So I pooed my pants.
Then Mick calls me and says, what are we going to do? I was like, not what are you going to do? That's the most stupid question ever. Of course you're going to get it.
Catherine's like, make it happen, but make it happen as painlessly as possible.
Yeah.
I'll support you because it's, you know, a big deal and everything, but we're going to have to make some sacrifices here and there.
Yeah,
so.
but it is a big deal. I think, it's really interesting, right? Because the sound of that thing is a sledgehammer. It's really great.
It's brilliant. So at the moment, it's set as Ainsley had it.
Right.
To answer your question, it's E flat, nice big action, and it's just great.
Yeah.
In fact, it's made me put the action up on the gold one and on the 61.
Made me put the action up. Playing that guitar made me put the action up on all my guitars. Because I was at your house and Ainsley had them out on the table. And I'm picking them up and going, oh man, this action's really high. And I started, schwang was had. And I'm like, this is just the most divine thing. You know what's really interesting, right? We're talking about playing melodies before. Playing melodies when you've got an action that you can feel is a very different thing than playing melodies than if you just...
Well, the guitar just rings in a completely different way when the action's up. And you play it and you're like, wow, this is hard work. But then once you start getting into it...
I think it's got a lot to do with when you hear a really great bass player play a solo on beautiful melodies and look at their action, you know, you've got to play that melody with purpose.
It's such a great guitar. So I'd love to leave it in E flat, but we don't really do anything in E flat, so it will probably end up in standard. However, we're going to do Doyle Bramall's version of "Hear My Trainer Comin'" in the Jimi Hendrix song "Hear My Trainer Comin'" in the TPS band, and I think that needs to be an E flat.
Okay, I might just have a guitar in E flat for that song then.
Although I'm going to have to play a 12 string on that. All the melody and everything's on 12 string.
Okay. I want to hear that. I want to hear your strat into an octave with the guitar roll back. Because the solo and everything is a univibe and a
Yeah, I think with no disrespect to Doyle, the solo is the worst thing about that song.
oh, I think it's magic.
I
I love the solo.
Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad solo. It's a brilliant solo, but everything else, the intro where it's,
Yeah, and then the other guitar's going. It's like chromatic things.
It does the run down and run up thing. Sorry, we're lost in Jimmy. Have you ever seen him playing it on the 12 string?
No.
The old video.
Oh yes, Jimmy's.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Just genius.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, KJ, I'll leave it more or less as it is. It may well end up in standard at some point, just because we don't do that much E flat. But it really rings in E flat. Hobo Roadie.
Hey mate.
Some fool, he says, gave the Hobo Roadie plastic. Dan, if you had some manky old Celestians, would you run them until they caught fire, or go ahead and get them reconed?
Man, isn't it? It's that thing where speakers always sound the best just before they explode into flames. Right.
Never actually caught a speaker on fire.
No.
Had a few amps.
Yeah,
smoking.
It's really interesting. Like a well-worn speaker that's been used and still sounds great and isn't rubbing. If the coils aren't, rubbing. They're magic things. They really are magic. It's like, for example, a difference between the Celestian Blues that are in my 61, like original Celestian Blues, and my AC30, versus the new Celestian Blue. It's like, no.
I wonder if that's one of the reasons those EVs sound so nice, because they've been hammered for years.
Yeah. And that's a big thing. And it might be that new Celestian Blue, hammer that for 60 years.
Yeah.
And great.
Or even 2 years.
Maybe. So as long as the speaker's working, because they are such an important part of the sound. Now, I have an old blown Celestian Blue, and I need to get it reconed. And I remember having another Celestian Blue getting reconed, and I sent it to 4 different people before it got back and sounded all right.
Mm-hmm.
So because you get the coning kits, right? But doing it's an art form. It's tricky.
Yeah, something of which I have zero knowledge. Gary Varner. Gary says, hello, Toes. When your girlfriend unexpectedly breaks up with you, you treat yourself to a Mercury 7, right? Well, that's what I did anyway. Hope you're well. Gary, we're sorry to hear that. She clearly didn't deserve you, mate.
No. Anyone that has such amazing taste, she's lost out, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the hall will never sound the same again.
No.
She'll never hear it.
No.
She'll never say, Gary, that cascading reverb I can hear on your E major 7th chord.
Yeah. That shimmer has given me the tingles. Not going to happen.
Not going to happen. She's never going to hear it.
No.
Cheer up, Gary. Onwards and upwards. When one door opens.
Indeed. The wind will...
Don't fall down the fire escape.
Yeah.
Good on you, mate. I hope you're doing all right. Dewey Finn. Have we got a question from Dewey Finn? No, we've got one from Jim Leininger that we missed earlier. Jim, he says, please consider doing a surf and rockabilly board show.
Oh.
Complete with Dougie, and include the new Game Changer Bigsby pedal.
Yeah. So, bit of a name drop. I had a meeting. Band meeting. I had a meeting with Phil Manzanera.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, this last week, and we're talking about because they're doing, he's doing some stuff, and he said, would love to meet you and kind of chat about. So I was in London, and anyway, met Phil.
Nice.
And his tech used to work at Game Changer Audio.
Oh,
and
no
we
way.
had a really fantastic conversation.
So he's the guy that
about
sang
Game
In the Air
Changer.
Tonight, right?
That's him.
Yeah.
That's him.
Lead singer of the Human League? Was that
That's
him?
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. So, anyway.
Or the Scottish wall insulator. Phil McCafferty. Carefully adopted joke there, you will have noticed.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Yep. Keeping
Hey!
it in between the lines.
Talking about, sorry to derail your Phil Manzanera story. What does that mean? Is he coming on the show then?
I'd love to get him on the show. I possibly.
Yeah.
He's man, what a lovely guy.
If you don't know, Phil Manzanera done lots of things, but probably best known for being in Roxy Music.
Yeah. So, but really, now anyway, we'll see. Until, because I haven't run anything past Phil, so I can't say anything. But anyway, Phil, lovely guy, but his tech, we're talking about the Bigsby Petal and Game Changer Audio and that synth, that sort of motorized synth that they made. And, I've got so much respect for those guys at Game Changer because they're just constantly asking great questions.
Changing the game.
Yeah, changing the game. Yeah, really great.
Interesting historical question, Dan. I watched another film over the weekend. Apparently, history people will know this or to confirm or deny. Consider these three people from history.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to get it right.
Okay.
King George, basically whoever was king in the early 1900s.
In the early 1900s?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's King George, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know which one it is. Fifth, maybe fourth.
Right.
I don't know. Anyway, Tsar Nicholas of Russia,
Yep.
Kaiser Wilhelm.
Of Germany.
Consider those three people
Right.
all instrumental in the First World War.
Yes.
You know who their grandmother was?
No.
Queen Victoria.
All had the same grandmother.
They were cousins. Please tell me if that's right or wrong, because it could have been a complete fictionalization from the film. I could have just Googled it anyway. It's a good film.
What film was it?
Can't remember.
Awesome.
But the actor plays all three.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah, Tom, his name is, the actor.
What is like, what we need is another war. And then he jumps over here and goes, yes, Ducky.
Yes, the film is Kingsman. The Kingsman.
The Kingsman.
Yeah.
As in...
The prequel to Kingsmen.
Not, do you mean that action film with...
Yeah, but it's I'm assuming it's the film, a bit like they made Star Wars 1 before they made Star Wars...
Oh, they made Star Wars 4 before they made Star Wars.
25.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Sorry, they made Star Wars 25 before they made Star Wars 1.
Star Wars Episode 4, thank you very much, before Star Wars 1.
Yeah. Return of the Kirk Snatchers, that one. You know,
Very good.
Where Kevin One Kenobi gets beamed up.
Yeah.
It is. Thank you so much.
You call that a Schwartz?
They were cousins, correct, says Ron Dock. Doug J says you are correct. That is correct, says Elliot Gonzalez.
Wow.
Kingsman, Marillion says thank you. Yeah, it's a really good film, actually. Tom Hollander, thank you, Curtis. I knew it was Tom.
Tom Holland?
Tom Hollander.
Tom Holland, I don't know Tom.
You'll know him when you see him.
Right.
Anyway, sorry. God, blimey. You don't come here for this, do you? Call it wet moist and let the pedants enjoy that, says Paul Matulovic. Yeah, why not?
Okay.
You know who Tom Holland is now?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Well, there's Tom Holland, who's the new Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But Tom Hollander...
It's Billy Elliot, isn't it? The new Spider-Man?
Yes, it is Billy Elliot. He was Billy Elliot in the stage show.
But he
in
wasn't
London.
Billy Elliot in the film.
He wasn't Billy Elliot in the film, but he was Billy Elliot in the...
And he flipping looks like him.
He does.
How weird is that?
Very weird.
I'll tell you what is weird. My wife's mother lives up a hill in Greece, in Corfu, right?
Right.
And some new people moved in down the road. There's only about 20 houses up there.
Right.
It's in the middle of Corfu. It's not a particularly, it's not like posh Rothschild or anything like that. Or anyway, she lives in the middle of the island, kind of not touristy, not anything. Some new English people moved in down the road. I was like, oh, okay, interesting. Because there's, Germans and Austrians and Dutch and a few Greeks and
Yeah.
It's a nice mix of people. Anyway, some new English people moved in. Oh yeah, it'd be good. Nice to meet them one day. Walk along the street. I used to flip and work with her at Future Publishing.
No.
True story.
Was it awkward?
No awkwardness.
Are you sure?
Didn't work with her at Future Publishing, Dan.
Come to Greece to get away from you.
No.
Right, okay. Oh, I see.
I mean, these coincidences. Anyway, sorry, you really don't come here for this. Benjamin Hooper. Benjamin, thank you for your super chat. I can't see a question. Keith is on from 5 Watt World.
Oh, hey, Keith.
Hello, Keith, and also Jeff McCurlin's in the chat. Hello, Jeff.
Wow.
Well, we are honoured today.
Indeed.
Thank you for joining us, guys. That's very cool to have you here. Even though I do believe, Daniel, we may be drawing to a close.
Okay.
Let's see.
Meat feasters are calling.
It is. Yeah, that's us for super chat. So let's just see. Sergio Terrell wants to know, what would you consider a usable solid state amp for a gigging musician? None work with pedals. I'm going to give you Roland JC40.
Oh, I'm going to give you Roland JC120. I think you need that headroom in a band context. But there's Session did a transistor amp that I thought was really good.
Session at 75. I have one
Session
of
at
those.
75. They were really good.
Yeah, I don't think they make them anymore. Steve Stocking, can the height of your strings have an effect on the tone, and what the height of your strings? Yes, absolutely. It has a massive effect on your tone. And it's not necessarily high string sounds like this, low string sounds like that. It's about how you play.
Yep.
So if you have quite an attacking style and you hit the guitar, low action's no good to you at all. You'll need to amend your playing style in order for that to work for you. Otherwise, you're going to get string buzz. If you've got a really light touch and you've got loads of dynamic in your playing and you don't hit the guitar very hard, light action might suit you really well.
Right.
And there's not to say one is going to sound better or worse than the other. It's what you can make sound good.
And make a higher action sound good. What I did...
Simon Jarrett.
Very good. However, caveat to that, because actually my Les Paul's not super high action, but he would pick up our guitars here and play and sound godlike. But if you want to try it, right, and you're a bit confused about what to do and you really like the action of your guitar as it is, just get your Allen key, stick it in, and on each one just do one full rotation.
You might want to just slacken the strings off a little bit before you do that.
Yep.
But yeah.
Slacken the strings off and do one full rotation on each one so that you can go back to exactly where you were.
Then you know where you are, how much you've gone up.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just to feel what it's like when you've got a bit of pressure underneath your fingers, and it's the most extraordinary thing. Because you think, when you look at the guitar with high action, you think, oh man, that's going to be really hard to play. But actually, when you start digging into it, and the notes just ring in a certain way.
Yeah.
And you can really...
Yeah, it depends on your playing style.
Yeah.
And if you want to develop that playing style that works on a high action, it's quite a lot of work, but both Dan and I are there. That's how our playing has evolved over the years.
Yeah. And actually, there's from Ainsley's beautiful demonstration of his dynamic where he just went bang, and you can't do that with low action.
No, you can't. Right, good. Sergio Terrell, BV Ninja, quite rightly says DV Mark amps as well. Yeah, they're
Yes.
a really good shout.
Really good.
Really good shout. You could also consider a hybrid solution. There have been many hybrid amps down the years. One of the really coolest latest ones is Victory's V4 series, which has a valve front end matched with a Class D solid state power amp, which is plenty enough headroom, and it's only that big. Run it into a cab. Really good shout. So,
Yep.
And because it's got that valve front end, actually takes pedals really nicely.
Yes, and there's what's the other brand a lot of people really love? The small compact new brand. Oh man, I should really have the names of these before I make a comment, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
In my head.
Are you thinking of the American brand?
Yeah. And they do loads of different little solid state amp module things, and they are called, because generally whenever we mention solid state everyone brings them up.
Yes. Jay Cameron says, I never get any responses here.
I don't either, Jay. Wouldn't be too concerned about it.
Tone Master Deluxe says, Keith at 5 Watt World.
Quilter.
Yeah, Quilter, thank you. Thank you, Ran. Yeah, Tone Master Deluxe adds digital modelling to the solid state power section bit. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Thank you, Jeremy Blanchard. Thank you, Lellenberg. Thank you, BV Ninja. Thank you, Ranzer. Thank you, TC. Thank you, Thomas Barron, for your Quilter comments.
Thank you, Linesman. Thank you, Ball Boys.
Not Out. That's a good film as well.
What?
Where Will Smith plays the
I haven't seen it.
the twin, the tennis girl's dad.
I haven't seen
Williams.
it. And
Sorry.
I'm
It's really good.
I need to give it a bit of time before I watch, because I've always really liked Will. I'm going to give it a bit of time before I watch that film.
Oh, because of Slapgate?
Yeah. No, I was like, yeah, no, not.
You didn't think that was cool?
No, really, really super.
I thought what wasn't cool is he didn't do it with a clenched fist. It's like he lost his shit enough to give the guy a slap, but not quite enough to actually smack him one.
Yeah, but no, not.
I don't condone
Never any
violence
reason
in any
to.
form,
Yeah.
unless you're down grappling with another man on the floor, trying to make the
I had a wonderful session.
Nutsack Go Purple play us out, Dan. Sorry for the profanity today. We'll see you on Friday for more fun.
Indeed. How about?
Man, that's a hard swing.
Dougie's got his work cut out for him.
That is a hard swing.